Welcome back to another review. Hope you're still enjoying them. This one is a unique one. This one is not of a band. This is not of it is of a couple of artists, but they're just examples of what I'm going to talk about. And I want to talk about production. When something's produced and you have a producer, what does that mean? A lot of people hear the artist, but to be perfectly frank, behind the artist is a producer, the producer's vision and what they envision that artist doing. There's been some legendary producers over the years. Bob Rock, Mutt Lange, Alan Parsons, Quincy Jones. The list goes on and on. And in that list I've talked about, I'm going to talk about two of them. So when an artist has an idea of what they want to do, they talk to the producer. The producer gives them ideas of what they should do or shouldn't do, and can even go as far as orchestrate an album. These two albums I'm going to show you now are prime examples of premier production, like top level production of music and the embodiment of what that artist is. And the first one I'm going to talk about is one that I wasn't acquainted with for quite some time, and it would probably be about, sometime in the mid-90s I actually started to listen to this album, and it's Michael Jackson's Thriller. Now, Thriller is an impeccably produced album. Michael Jackson's a singer. He doesn't play an instrument. But Quincy Jones, the brains behind this album, was, he was a miracle worker. So, he worked with a lot of artists. But this kind of shows what a producer can do. If Michael Jackson was left to his own devices, God knows what we would have. He would have to make a living on dancing and singing, but, his instrumentation behind him would probably pale in comparison to someone like Quincy, who did an amazing job. Now, I should say for me personally, the album before this, Off the Wall, is a better album. This had a lot of great showmanship, great beats and rhythms and stuff, but Off the Wall was an orchestra. It was an orchestration of brass, all sorts of brass bands and incredible guitar riffs. Off the Wall was Michael Jackson's masterpiece, in my opinion. Could you say it's overproduced? Was it over the top? No, I don't think so, because of what Michael Jackson was. He was a singer, dancer, performer, and Quincy had the idea to take that music and really make him a superstar, and he did. Now, he declined after this album, as far as I'm concerned. He came out with Bad and a couple other albums, I think. I really didn't listen to them, but what I have heard of them, they just kind of pale in comparison to what this and certainly what Off the Wall was. Now, the next record I'm going to talk about, I'm looking forward to reviewing this band. This is one of my favorites, and it would be a pretty in-depth review. But this is another example of how great an album is produced. This was produced by Alan Parsons. Now, Alan Parsons, of course, many of you know the Alan Parsons Project of the 1980s, and I love Alan Parsons' music. Because he is a fantastic producer. He produces how I like to hear things produced, to be orchestrated, to be layered and build up to a crescendo. That's how I like a lot of music. And this album was actually, before he ever went solo, he was a producer on Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon, the biggest selling album of all time, at least at one point. I think it's up to about 28 million albums sold, something crazy like that. I may be wrong, but I'll have to look it up. Now, what Alan Parsons did was take Pink Floyd's ideas for music prior, Adam Hart Mother and some of their previous Obscured by the Clouds. You could see the direction that Pink Floyd was going, and Alan Parsons took their idea of psychedelic rock music and turned it into what I consider a masterpiece. I think this, maybe Wish You Were Here. I always debate those two. But this album, I think, is their masterpiece because of the way that Alan Parsons... listen, I'm not taking anything away from Pink Floyd because Roger Waters was a huge part of this album. But it was, a vision of those two guys, pretty much. And he did great things on it. The effects he uses, the clocks, the lasers, the things that really weren't quite as prevalent in 1970... 73 when this came out. So no, 75. I think it was 75. Anyway, fantastic album. And then just talking about producers, I could go on and on about records and producers and what they do, but talked about a couple of amazing records and what production's all about. And anyway, I hope you have a great New Year's, and I don't know, we'll see what band the new year brings. All right? Cheers. Have a good New Year.